для лиц старше 12 лет.
Инди-игры – особый жанр или побочный продукт гейм-индустрии. Кто-то относится к ним скептически, другие ждут их победы над мейнстримом. Я готов доказать, что инди – это целый мир. И даже больше.
Париж, Франция. Здесь находится школа талантов Рубика, где обучаются будущие деятели игровой индустрии. Не так давно несколько студентов выпустили бесплатную игру «Дипломный проект» QUUR. И будьте уверены, что визуальный стиль и красочно-фэнтезийный мир не оставят вас равнодушными и даже поставят игру в один ряд с произведениями искусства. После прохождения у нас осталось много вопросов, и мы побеседовали с гейм-дизайнером проекта Данте Мединой.
Okay, so nice to meet you. My name is Dante Medina. I am a game level and narrative designer of the game QUUR, which is a student game that came the 2nd of November. Okay, so personally, I come from Mexico. I did my high school there, and I wanted to do video games like all my life, but there were no opportunities at all in Mexico. So I chose to come to France, and so right now I just got out of a 5-year master degree here in France. I studied management and game design, and so that's when I started really getting into games, because I mean in Mexico there were no opportunities for that. And so I've done quite a lot of projects, and this project QUUR is my latest one, and it was my final year project. We spent a year on it. We were a team of 7 people. Okay, so the story of this project, it started with the writing of the concept. Our creative director, her name is Caroline Bitterly. She wrote the concept down and submitted it to the school in order to get it approved as a final year project. Afterwards, our lead artist, whose name is Eloise Lozano, she also joined the team. And afterwards, once the project got accepted by the school staff, and they decided that QUUR will become a final year project, the rest of the team joined. So we are a team of 7. We are 3 game artists, 3 game designers, so I'm in the design team, and 1 programmer. And also we have some external people working on it. We had an external programmer, external animator, and also a musician who work on the sound design and the music of the game. So the meaning of the game, of the name QUUR, actually really stems from the idea of the same word of the English language. So QUUR, it's just a play. We wanted to have a title that didn't seem like English or any particular language. It's actually Romanian, and so we chose this word because it sounds a lot like the word cure. So QUUR is most of all, it's a game with a message, and it's a game where you as a player will enter an unknown world where all the environment will react to your presence. It's a game where you have all these tools of the just puzzle. You have like these combat moves. You have the color that you can manipulate as you wish in order to either hurt the creatures or just go through the environment. And so I would describe this game much like a personal experience. Like you are in a world, you can kill, you can do all these kinds of stuff, but what will you do? How would you react? How would you traverse this world? And so the experience of QUUR is really that. There's no dialogue, there's no interface, there's no explicit story. It's just you going through a world and how you will adapt to it, either by being violent or by just traversing it and working with the environment. It depends, because actually when you finish the game and you have killed a creature, so every time you kill, the color of the environment drains, and so everything turns to white. So there's a real visible impact each time you kill. And so our hope was that most players will understand, okay, I am killing, but the color of their environment is going away, the music is getting distorted, so there must be something that I'm doing wrong. And in the end of the game, when you have killed and you reach the ending, the game loops. It actually takes you back to the beginning, and everything you've done is reset. And so that is the main tool that we have to have the players know that they did something wrong. But actually, by doing the play tests and testing the game and watching the people play on YouTube, all the let's plays that come about over the game, there are some people that don't understand the message. But that's okay, because we didn't want to compromise. We really wanted to try to communicate as clearly as possible to the player that this experience was different, that it wasn't their typical game experience. It wasn't just go through the world, kill everything you see. It actually is something much more experienced like. So it doesn't matter that some people didn't pick it up, but what matters is really that everyone has their own opinion, everyone has their own way of seeing the game. So we feel very rewarded even if they didn't get it. All right, so we had a lot of, when doing the game, we had a lot of documents, documentation on the lore and the backstory, which we worked a lot on because we needed it in order to create this world. But most of it, so it isn't communicated to the player. So that's why most people won't get what the story is. And so to simplify, the world of QUUR, so the forest you see, depends on a substance called color. You can see this substance like something like blood, like something that gives life. And so every creature and every tree shares color. You can see it like a resource that is shared between all living beings. And so when a creature dies, then the color goes back to the environment. And we call this the color cycle. It's very similar to how it works in the real world, just a little more fantasized version of it. And so whenever there's a great loss of color, the forest shrinks and gets smaller and smaller. You actually can see it when in the final level of the game, where you arrive in a white, vast plain where everything is there and there's very small color. That's because the color has been lost, it has been absorbed. And when the color is absorbed and lost, then it turns to white, like when you kill any creatures. And so your character, his mission, I'm going to talk a little bit about the backstory of these beings. So these beings, they are called the guardians. We refer to them internally as guardians. And so a long time ago, there was a massive loss of color in the environment. And so the white rose started to eat it and the forest shrink. And in order to restore the color, there were beings created that were by the forests. They are called the guardians. And their job was to restore the color of the world by spreading it, by kind of pushing the white zone away. However, when you start the game, your avatar, which he's a guardian, the problem has been resolved. There's no need for guardians anymore. The color balance, the color cycle has been restored and everything's fine. And so you as a player, you can manipulate the color, but your mission is not to kill or to help the forest in any way. You have no purpose. That's what I'm getting at. Your character has no purpose at all. His only purpose is to sacrifice himself, go to the source of the river, which is located at the bottom of the mountain, so the final level of the game, and dissolve in it. That's it. And so this character, really, his only purpose is to die, which is kind of tragic, but it also complements our message of what we wanted to do was a game where you, the player, are not the main interest of the game. You are not the focal point of the game. The focal point is the universe. And so that's why if you disturb this universe, there will be consequences for it. So that's why when you go to the river and sacrifice yourself, you have the good ending of the game. And so the credits roll. If you kill, then you are sent back. So in regards to the setting of the game, we watched together as a team. We watched a film by Miyazaki. The film is called Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and the universe and the forest that appears in that film is very similar to ours because it's a forest that expands, and whenever someone interferes with this forest, they get immediately attacked. And that's just because that's the way the environment works. If you interfere with something, there will be consequences. And so this forest in Nausicaa, it reacted by attacking any intruders that decided to be aggressive and destroy the environment. And also the creatures of the film, because the creatures in Nausicaa, as in QUUR, they are not very easily readable. I mean, they're kind of strange. They move in strange ways. They make strange sounds. But if you take the time to look at them and really analyze how they move and how they interact with each other, then you can really get to know what they are like. And so that's why Nausicaa was one of our main reference. In terms of visual, and that's very deep. We had like a lot of visual references. I can say that in regards to the combat system, because since I work on the game design, I have a lot more. I know a lot more about the gameplay and the levels. But in regards to the combat, if you take a look at the game, whenever the avatar attacks, he's actually not punching or attacking with his own body. He's using color that floats around him. And we were inspired by a traditional Japanese dance, which is called the ribbon dance. And so you have all these people that's playing with the ribbons and it moves all over the place. And so we incorporated that into the game. Because one of our other references in terms of themes was the game Undertale, which has a very, very strong anti-violence message. But if you take a look at Undertale, it really tells you from the beginning, okay, you can kill, but it will be better if you don't. And it tells you over and over and over again. And so that's great. But what we wanted to do was do the opposite of that. Instead of telling you what to do and not to do, we don't tell you anything. And it's up to you to decide how to approach it. So I think if we reach what you call an innovation in any aspect of this game, I think this will be it. Just do what you want. Nothing's going to stop you. The soundtrack is something that we are really proud of. So it was composed by a very close friend of mine who is also from Mexico and who did the same thing as me. He moved to France to study. He's studying music, of course. And so I talked to him about this project and he was brought along. At the beginning, it was very, very difficult because what we had was a 3D world. Like imagine like playing QUUR without sound. It's very difficult to really think about, okay, how am I going to score this? What kind of music would work? So it was very difficult. But what we did is that we told him, okay, here is the game. We're going to explain you everything about it. Here is the backstory. Here is the message. Here's our intention. And so in the end, he had all of these available tools to him. And so he started working on it. So the soundtrack, there has, like for instance, some of the cries you hear in the music actually comes from his voice because he uses all of this software available to him. And so most of the instruments like that are very organic sounding. Actually, one article in the press described the soundtrack as being chill wave for whales. That's how they described it. And so actually that was just his voice, and he modified it in order to give this very organic feeling. For the sound of the water, of the color, sorry, for the color when you hit something, he used a water balloon that he exploded, and so we recorded that sound and treated it afterwards. And so what makes the soundtrack and the sound design of QUUR unique is that there are a lot of organic elements in place. There are a lot of electronic synthesized sounds, but there are also this organic sounding. And so making the soundtrack was a really hard process, but in the end he managed it. We are very happy for the soundtrack he put out for us. And so we had the choice at the beginning of the project of just saying, okay, we are going to use Unreal because it looks very awesome most of the time, or we can use Unity. And so we chose Unity because the team had a lot of experience with Unity. For example, our 3 artists, they are members of a gaming collective, which is called Klondike. And so they spend their free time crafting all of these experimental games that they go on to show in museums and stuff. And so they had a lot of experience making graphics for Unity. And also one great thing about Unity that really pushed us to choose it, besides the fact that we are very familiar with it, is the fact that our game uses a lot of custom shaders. If you look at the color, how it splashes, if you look at the river when you break the rock and how it flows, all of the stuff you need. If you want to do that in other engines like Unreal, you have to learn a lot of code and really get into the engine and modify it in order to integrate those kinds of custom shaders. But with Unity, it's very simple. You just need to have the tools to your disposal, and then you can do it. But in Unreal, it's very, very difficult. So we are aware that putting the game on Steam will bring a lot of more players. The thing is that putting a game on Steam, like a free game, it actually requires a capital investment. And there's also some trouble with in regards to the rights of the game and how we will split all the revenue, because we will need to create a company And so there are a lot of legal steps that we will need to take in order to offer this kind of game on Steam. In itch.io, we just put out the game and that's it. But in Steam, we'll have to sign a contract and all of this legal stuff. And we didn't want to get involved with it. Each member of the team, we have not many things in common. So it was really cool to work together. But in regards to what we want to do, we are very, very different. Like, for instance, our artists, they do like a lot to work on the indie studios and do these indie games. Me, myself, I'm much more into publishing, into console games, into next-gen consoles and stuff. Some of us are actually working on mobile, others are working on AAA games. So we are like very, very different. And I think the opportunity of working together in the future is the percentage of that happening is very, very low, because we all have these different priorities in our lives and we have moved on from the project. So we also struggled a lot with our school, because the idea was to make a 20-minute prototype of a game and submit it to a jury. The jury is comprised of professionals from all over the industry in France. And so the problem was that every step of the way, when we presented the project to the school, to the teachers and everyone, they just didn't get it. Like, most of them, they were very aggressive, and they told us, your game, it has a message, but the gameplay, it's not explained. You have all these intentions, but you are not doing it right. Because like the game is very different from other commercial games, So since it's very different, we struggle a lot with the school and having them understand what our project was. And actually, like, doing a 30-minute presentation on QUUR and really sell the idea of the game is very, very difficult to do. The best way of understanding the game is playing it for yourself. And so, we faced a lot of issues with the school, and we didn't get like a very good grade in the end. But we are very happy that the game came out and people are really enjoying it. Well, right now, I'm actually doing an internship for a French publisher. It's named Big Ben Interactive. We work on a lot of racing games, and sports games, and adventure games. And so what I want to do right now is stay with a publisher as a producer. Because even if I really like doing game design or level design, and in the end, what I really like is the production of a game, like all this different parties are collaborating together, how you can improve how the team works, and all this management stuff. That's something I really enjoy. So as in my case, what I really want to do is just stay working with publishers and publishing like all these high budget games and get them out on the markets. Where like one of my dreams, I don't know if I will reach it or not, is to create a game studio in Mexico, where we have like very, very little, our industry is very small. And so, get all these people together in Mexico and make a game together and be paid for it. Thank you for the opportunity. It's not every day I get to talk about one of my games, so I'm very happy to have been given the opportunity. And my team too is very, very happy. Hasta luego y buena suerte.